Alright, this is the challenge question for 3G. Please make sure that you've already tried it before you watch this. It is sourced from exercise 3G question 7, so if you do it, it does count towards your questions. I'm going to go through how I would do it and where the 3 marks come from. So we're asked to sketch the graph of y equals -3 bracket x minus 2 all to the power of 4 minus 3. Now to the power of 4 means that shape-wise we're looking for a parabola, and I suppose the first thing to note is that we have a turning point. So that turning point is going to be at 2, -3. So looking at that format that we've got, we can say we have a turning point at 2, -3. Note, it's not -2 because I've switched the sign inside. If in doubt, you can always go to the transformations form and do that flow chart of what happens to our x, y values. I'm going to do this by inspection instead. In addition to that, I can just find some points. So for instance, a y-intercept. So if x equals 0, what does y equal? And what I end up getting out is a really large number. Now if you look at my scale, that's not going to work. So although I found it, I'm actually not going to use it in my graph. But I can find something else. So x equals 1, for instance, gives me something that's actually nice and graphable. So -6. And then if I go to the other side of my turning point, so that was 1 unit to the left of my turning point. If I go 1 unit to the right of my turning point, x equals 3, then I'll actually get out the same result because it's got that symmetry as it's a parabola. Alright, so putting in those 3 points that I've got, and then I just need to be able to sketch this graph through those 3 points. Because my scale on my y-axis only goes down to -10, please make sure your graph does not cross the y-axis, because our y-intercept is at -51, so it's a long way down here. So we shouldn't be right next to it, we shouldn't be crossing it. This is about right here. Try to make this as symmetric as possible because it is a parabola. And we will put in our coordinate points, so we've got some scale. And then we need to look at where our marks are coming from. So there is definitely a mark there for shape. You probably get a mark for your turning point in this particular case, so labeling that turning point. And maybe a mark for scale. Depending on the question, that might change. But in this particular case, would go for a mark. The only other thing you might get a mark for is labeling. A lot of the time in an assessment item it will say sketch the graph of this, making sure that you label asymptotes or label intercepts, etc. And that might actually be where you get your extra marks. So 3 marks is pretty normal for a graph. Be aware of that.